Lately, I've been giving some thought to the relative artistic merit of what I do, my job, which lately I keep tending to think of as a job. Um, I like to think that what I do is an art, and I like it when it feels like art. But when it starts to feel like a job, that's when I have to start thinking about it. What am I doing that's special or interesting? And it occurred to me just now that art criticism, at least in the way I do it, art analysis, if you will, is a bit like the plunderphonics or the vaporwave of writing. To explain what that means, plunderphonics is a musical genre that comes from taking samples, pieces of other music, and recombining it, like sort of taking pieces of other music and making it into new music. Vaporwave, meanwhile, is similar, sort of a subgenre of that, but where you take songs and don't do a lot to them. It's more like you just maybe slow down the tempo of an existing song, maybe add a little bit, chop and screw a little bit, but for the most part, you're basically just taking a song and making it into a slightly different song with a certain atmosphere to it. Hence the vapor. It's barely changing anything, barely making it different. And in some ways, analytical writing is like that. Because I'm not really writing something new. I'm taking what's already there and reconfiguring it. I often consider my writing to be basically decompressing or sometimes recompressing information. Like, let's say, to use something that's in my line of sight, F A Tale of Memories, right? This is a TV show that has some basic thematic ideas, but instead of just telling you those thematic ideas, it explores them through characters and situations and writing, and it tells a story. And I just take all that data that's been spread out and I recompress it into a ball, and then I explain it. I explain, like, I take one train of thought that's run through the show, and then I explain how I interpreted it. But the information's already there. I mean, with my F video, that one in particular, I wrote more about myself than I did about the show. So, that could be considered adding something onto, maybe more of like a hip-hop production where I took an existing song and then I rapped over it with my own lyrics. So with analysis, often what I'm doing, good example, the Gurren Lagann versus Kill La Kill video. I'm just explaining what's already there. I'm not creating this stuff out of thin air. I'm not inventing these ideas. I'm just taking the show and recontextualizing it into an analytical video. And, I would understand, and this is me myself. I'm criticizing myself sometimes by saying, well, I'm not creating anything, but I am, and I listen to a lot of these genres. I'm listening to some vaporwave right now. I'm fascinated by plunderphonics and vaporwave and hip hop and recontextualizing something into something new that's also enjoyable and sometimes can be better than the original. I've had people tell me that my Sword Art Online critique is better than Sword Art Online, and I'd be inclined to agree with that. I mean, obviously I hate that show, and that's one of my favorite videos, and I've actually watched my own video a number of times, and I enjoy listening to it back, and I feel like it's one of the best things I've done. But yeah, that's essentially what it is. It's plunderphonics. I've taken Sword Art Online, a show that exists already, I've reconfigured it into my work, and made something new out of it. So that's the best way I can think about analysis and reviews and stuff like that. And when people, because there is a lot of debate, is it art? There's a great story by Oscar Wilde in which I don't remember what it's called. It's something like On Criticism or something like that. But it's just two guys sit down and have this incredibly long conversation in which one of them is defending the idea of criticism as an art form. And a lot of what he says is stuff that's a lot more relevant today, where he was mostly talking about just criticism, but now we have a lot more of this remix culture, art that is remade as other art. And I think that's essentially what I'm doing. So I do think that criticism is art, built from other art. But just like any other art, there has to be artistic voice and individualism for it to stand out or to feel like your own, Just like a band can put out a sellout album, and that's what I always feel I'm at risk of and what I'm afraid of is putting out a sellout album, And I don't think I'm doing that, but sometimes I feel like I'm putting stuff out just to put it out. My Watamote video is a great example of that, where I made a video because I wanted a video. I wanted to put out a video before that month was over. And I watched that show and I thought, okay, I can make a video out of this. But it doesn't have a lot of my artistic voice in it. It's more like I knew I could, so I did. It's like if I decided to write a pop song because I knew that it would get played on the radio and that I could write it and that people would enjoy it, but I don't enjoy it. Like, I don't really like that Watamote video. I put it out there because I knew other people would like it and I knew that would be okay, But that's when my job feels like a job. That's when it turns from something I'm doing for me because it makes me feel good to something I'm doing because I need money and because other people will feel good, and that's what a job is, right? You're doing work so that you can get money and you please other people with your work. If I worked at Target still, the people who I'm helping are the bosses and the customers, everyone but me. It's about pleasing the people who are paying me and pleasing the people who they're trying to please, which is why they're paying me. As opposed to pleasing myself. I'm only pleasing myself in that I get money at the end of the day. But what my videos should be is rewarding in themselves. Like, the reason I do this is because I was doing this before I made money. I didn't need money for this to be something I did automatically, something that I did because I wanted to. And so there's this tightrope I have to walk, right? Because I have to make money. I have to keep getting more popular. I have to keep drawing more people into my work. But I also have to enjoy doing it. And there's times when I just don't want to do this work. I just want to, sometimes I want to watch anime and I don't want to talk about it. Sometimes I want to play video games or do this or that, or hang out with my friends, which is most of what I've been doing lately. And that's where it becomes a question of, like, do I have something lined up that I can do that I'll enjoy and that will also be something popular, or something that will sell? It's hard to keep putting out albums, is the way I would put it. To not ever take a break from that. And I know that's how a lot of musicians feel too. Let me go let this cat out. So on my own terms, I'd consider myself a prolific artist, one who is pretty popular, and who's had the great fortune of doing a lot of work that I really love. But I think one of the problems with my work is that I get paid for it once, Like, the Sword Art Online video I did, any of them, they were released, I got paid for that release. I don't get, like, what's the word, royalties? I guess I do in the form of ad revenue on the videos that actually have it. But YouTube constantly fucks me, so that's always a problem. If I could get better royalties, I'd be set. That's basically what that is. That's what ad revenue is royalties. If I had... If I got 3 times the number of hits regularly that I get now, I'd be set for royalties to cover the cost of not having anything new to produce. Or if I just, my flat rate was higher. But because that's what, that's what authors do, right? They get paid to write a book by the publisher, but then they keep making money on royalties while they make their next book. And the problem is, I get paid just enough that I have to churn out books. I have to churn out songs, albums, whatever you want to call it, videos. I have to churn them out constantly to keep making money, because none of the ones that exist are collecting enough royalties, and that means I have to make new ones, new ones that are better, that are more likely to. Which is good in a way, because it pressures me to constantly improve, to constantly update my thinking about what I'm doing, try to make things different and better, and always progressing. But it can also be difficult when a time comes like right now where I have a bunch of videos that I've written or recorded or worked on that I'm not satisfied with, that I don't want to go through the trouble of editing and releasing, and it feels like I'm only editing it because I need the money and I need it to be out there. I'm like, I write stuff sometimes that I think, okay, I'm fine with having written that, but I don't care about it anymore. And then I have to release it. I have to put it out there because I need the money, I need the attention, to keep the whole thing growing. What I wish I could do is be like a writer, put out, like a famous writer, put out a big book that people paid attention to and that sustained me while I write a bunch of shitty books that I never publish and just throw them away. Instead, I have to publish everything that I write, even if it's not up to the standard of what I consider great, But all of this is also hinged on having ideas. I can't just suddenly because of this need to constantly put out videos, I'm always like, okay, well, when's that idea gonna come? The one that will make me think this is worth publishing, this is worth writing out there, because when I keep writing all these small ones and then throwing them away, then months go by and I'm not making any money, and then it's a problem, So, but there's no magic time period where I can say, well, all I got to do is throw stuff away for 3 weeks, and then on the 4th week I'll have come up with a whole new style. Who knows? It could take much longer than that. Maybe I need a while before something's going to be something that I feel I can put out there. But I'm just going to have to make myself release things that maybe I'm not completely satisfied with. Which is also why I wish I could just hire a full-time editor, because then I could just pass this stuff along after it's written and not have to think about it myself, and it really becomes someone else's collaborative work. It becomes another transformative work. It's like if I made the beat and sent it to a rapper, a beat that I would not have released on an album by myself, but that once they've rapped on it, it becomes great. And that's sort of a lot of the stuff I used to send to Devu before I had him editing my big projects like Psychopaths and Sword Art Online. Originally, I would mostly give him stuff that I wouldn't want to edit myself and release. I sent him a lot of scripts that were like, okay, other people will like this, but I'm done with it and I don't care anymore. And I'd send it to him, and then once he edited it, it was, presentable, and it was better than what it had originally been, better than what I would have made. So he sort of actualized those projects for me. But it's hard to do that. Even if he decides to start editing for me again, which he said he could, the difficulty would be... for instance, I'm writing a video about Nanoha right now, and if I wanted him to edit it, he'd basically have to watch all of Nanoha. And I can't pay him enough to make it worth that amount of effort, So, Yeah. I guess it always comes down to money, which is the sad fact that faces every creative. And, I make more money than I think a lot of creative people do, which is why it's hard for me to talk about this kind of thing sometimes. But if the money's not straight, then it always is what it is. As creative people, we all have processes and weird things about us. And, like I said, if I decided to just publish every video I wrote and edit them all and publish them all, even if it's not a whole ton of work, it would become work. It would then be a job. I'd be doing it purely for the money. And that's fine, even if it comes to that. Game Grumps is a job. They do it like a job. I'm sure that while they enjoy the show, they don't believe it has a lot of artistic merit, but they're doing it because it pays well and it's an easy job. And my job is an easy job for me to do. It's just I'm afraid that when it becomes a job, then the art part of it is what suffers. When I have to edit a video instead of writing another one because I need it to come out. That's what I'm worried about. Anyway, this has just been my long rambling thought process on why I've been on hiatus for the last 2 weeks, and how I see my art. I've been thinking about it because of the fact that I've been like reading literature and things like that, reading other stuff and looking at stuff that's not anime, and I have days where I just think, why anime? Why anime analysis? Why am I not trying to create a novel or something, or why am I not analyzing something else? And I wonder if I'm trapping myself with anime because I know how to do it, because it's something that comes naturally, and therefore, in terms of doing it as a job, very easy. Not to say that there's anything else I want to do more than anime analysis, but just that maybe I'm pushing for that so hard because it comes so naturally, because I can go, well, if I need 6 videos out in a month in order for me to make enough money to sustain myself, then I can easily make 6 videos about anime, whereas it'd be really hard to make 6 videos about something else. So I'm worried. Is that why I'm watching anime? When I start doing stuff like keeping up with a current season and then realizing that I don't have anything to say about current season shows or something like that, these are the kind of concerns that pop up. Like, oh god, am I just keeping up with anime because I think it's my job, So that's sort of how I got on this train of thought. But like with most things, I'm sure this will, whatever is wrong with the situation, it will resolve itself, because it always does. I'm about to go to 2 conventions. Conventions for me are always sort of a mental reset. It puts me back into like a place where I can reconsider everything I'm doing and then figure out where I'm going to go from there. So I'll probably think more about that once the convention season's over. But yeah, I guess going forward, I'd like to do some things that are a little different from what I've been doing. And if that takes a little bit of time and a lot of thought, then so be it. I mean, I'm still going to have to do my job, but... And I'll probably do it because this 2-week hiatus basically brought me to this conclusion, but it proved that I do need to do my job, because if I go 2 weeks without doing it, I mean, this month I'm not going to make jack shit for cash, so I'm going to be broke, and that's going to be something that makes me go, well, I guess it's time to work, because I have no money. But yeah, I just thought this was an interesting thought process that I'd share with you all. And that's all, I guess.